Why has the frequency of routine cervical screening changed from every 3 years to every 5 years? The cervical screening test, sometimes called the smear test, now looks for the human papillomavirus, or HPV for short. This is more accurate than the previous tests that only looked for cell changes in the cervix. Before HPV testing was introduced, those aged between 25 and 49 were screened every 3 years if the results showed that they had no cell changes in their cervix. Now how often you're screened depends on your HPV result. If you don't have HPV, you'll be invited back for another cervical screening test in 5 years, regardless of your age. This is because evidence shows that those that don't have HPV have a very low risk of developing cervical cancer within 5 years. It usually takes around 10 to 15 years for cervical cancer to develop after an HPV infection. This means that regular screening should pick up HPV and any cell changes before they could develop into cervical cancer. Some people believe that the change in frequency of screening is to save money, but this is not the case. This change, together with the introduction of HPV testing, is based on the best available scientific evidence and the fact that HPV testing is a more accurate test than only looking for cell changes. It's also in line with what other countries around the world are already doing or are working towards. If you do have HPV, we'll check to see if it's caused cell changes in your cervix. What happens next depends on your result. You'll either be invited for cervical screening more often to check the HPV has cleared, or referred to a specialist clinic. Remember though, HPV is common and normally clears by itself. The best way to reduce your risk of cervical cancer is by going for your cervical screening test every time you're invited. Don't ignore your invite, it could save your life. For more information about cervical screening in Scotland, please visit www.nhsinform.scot/cervical screening or call 0800 22 44 88.